Hunter Biden has been charged. The president's son, formally charged, and it is pissing people off. So, what's going on with Hunter Biden? This story has kind of been overshadowed by lots of other crazy shit going on this week. Mainly the stupid fucking submarine and the near civil war going on in Russia right now. So it's like, yeah, lots of other shit has happened that has kind of pushed this story to the wayside. But I think it deserves a good 20 minutes or so for us to talk about it. It is interesting. So what's going on with Hunter Biden? He has been charged with tax evasion and also had a firearms charge. This is after a 5-year investigation by a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney. This U.S. attorney was specifically left in place by the Biden administration because they were investigating his son, and he didn't want to give the appearance of impropriety. So usually what happens, right, after there's a change in administrations is that they go through and they kind of replace all the U.S. attorneys with their own people. And that's what they did with all of them, except for this one guy who was investigating his own son. They left that dude there because if they would have got rid of him, it would cause problems, and then people would say, oh, Hunter's getting special treatment, etc., etc. So the thing is, so this was a 5-year investigation, so this means this investigation started while Trump was in office. So the first thing you're going to hear from people is that, well, Biden got a slap on the wrist. You know, Hunter Biden getting a slap on the wrist. And yeah, the charges are not very deep or scary. He was charged specifically for not paying taxes on income over $1.5 million from 2017 and 2018. And then also he lied on his federal background check to get a gun, because one of the questions on the federal background check is, are you currently addicted or using any kind of addictive drugs? And he said no. And it's pretty obvious from actually all of the footage that they found from the stupid fucking laptop. It's obvious that no, he lied about that. So what's going on is that, well, he had to pay back the taxes. So pay back something like $100,000 for 2 years, or for both years. So he paid back like $200,000. He had to pay back for 2018 and 2017 and 2018. And then he gets on probation, and if he can stay clean for, I think, 24 months, then the firearms charge gets dropped. Now here's the thing, this is apparently a pretty standard sentence for these kinds of crimes, right? And since he took a plea deal, that means that he doesn't go to trial or anything like that. But this is a pretty standard thing from what I'm reading. What he specifically, the tax problem that he has specifically, is that he failed to file. So he wasn't like engaging in tax fraud or anything like that. He didn't file your taxes, right? And you have to file. Like every year you have to file, doesn't matter. Even if I think if you go something like there's like a 7-year statute of limitations or something like that. But every year you have to file, even if you don't make any money that year. Let's say you're unemployed or retired or whatever. You still have to file. Even if you're retired, even if you're getting Social Security, you have to file. So that's kind of what this was all about. He just didn't file at all. That's what's against the law. And then the gun charge is another thing that they usually don't prosecute you for either. And so that was part of the plea deal, was like, okay, well, remove this from my record after a certain number of years or something like that. The conservatives and all that shit, they're just losing their fucking minds over this whole thing. Now here's the thing about this, right? Is what gets me is that, well, he's the president's son. So Joe Biden has the perfectly legal capability of just pardoning him. And he could just pardon him right off the bat if he just felt like it, right? Which I'm sure if Hunter Biden got 30 years in prison or some shit, he'd probably pardon him. He'd probably pardon him on his like last day in office or something, is what he would do. Because that's what presidents usually do when they want to pardon someone and that's like controversial, is that they'll just wait till like the day before they leave and then pardon them. You know, because with like at that point it's like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Right? Like, who cares what kind of bad press you get? But he could at any time just be like, yeah, you know, for all of these crimes that they're investigating him for, he could just pardon him, and he doesn't do that. Why? Because it'll make him look bad. That's the real reason. But you know, here's the other thing to think about. It's like, well, what if this was Jared and Ivanka? What if Ivanka, for example, was arrested when Trump was president? Do you think for a nanosecond Trump wouldn't just pardon her in advance? No, he'd be all over the news. He'd be all over Truth Social and all that, saying how it's a witch hunt and all this other shit. And how it's, you know, part of the deep state Democrat fucking conspiracy that, you know, they keep finding him and his family committing fucking crimes or whatever. And then he would pardon them, and then all of his stupid fucking followers would agree with it. And that's what would have happened. So it's sort of like, is it because Biden is just more politically astute than Donald Trump? Is it because he knows that he doesn't have the fucking cult of personality following him around and believing every fucking stupid thing he fucking says? Is that why? I don't know. Doesn't fucking matter. Ultimately, what matters is that at least a little bit of accountability is being held here. And I mean, I personally think it's proportional for the crime. Because here's the other thing: a lot of Republicans are losing their minds, saying, "Well, what about all the other shit that's on the laptop or whatever, right?" And here's the thing that they don't get through their heads is that all of the shit on the stupid fucking laptop is stuff that you can't go to jail for. So they're showing all of these like screenshots of messages between him and like China and all this other crap. And where did these come from? Oh, these came from the laptop. And it's like, well, then they're inadmissible as evidence because that laptop went through like so many different hands and it's been tampered with so many different ways that they can't use any of the shit they found on that laptop to prosecute him for any of those crimes. They don't know if any of those messages are real, right? They don't. It's like, no, that's bullshit. Secondly, they go, okay, well, what about all the video of him, like, you know, banging hookers and doing drugs and stuff? And it's like, yeah, okay, it is illegal to contract out prostitutes. That is an illegal thing. I think it's bullshit. I think it should be allowed. But that is illegal, right? How come they're not using that then to arrest him? It's like, well, because just having a video of you getting it on with a prostitute is not illegal. That's not proof of anything. What's the proof of a video of you having sex with somebody? All that is, it's just you had sex with this person. That doesn't show. I mean, does the video actually show him handing money over and saying you are a prostitute? Here is $200. Let us go have sex. Is that what it actually says in that video? No. Then that's not evidence. Right? You get busted, like, that's why they have to do a sting operation. Whenever they do, like, you know, prostitution stings or whatever, they have to, like, catch the guy in the act. It's the paying for the sex. That's the illegal part. Not having the sex itself. So, what are they going to do? Go track down any of these women, bring them before a judge and be like, did he pay you for this? All they're going to be is like, no, it was fucking consensual. He didn't pay me. I just wanted to, like, get with Hunter because he's rich and he's got a huge, massive, giant dong. And that's why I had sex with him. It would fall apart in the court. And it doesn't matter how many people came up and testified saying, oh, I saw them. It doesn't fuck. You have to catch them in the act for that. That's bullshit. It's nothing. Right? The other thing with you doing drugs. Okay, yeah, you knew that he was doing drugs. Well, maybe he could get in trouble if he was on probation while he was doing drugs or something. But is there a timestamp on the video? Is he looking at a clock saying it's 11:59 on January 24th, 2017? I am on probation and now I'm about to smoke crack. Is that what he's saying? Like, no, just a video of you smoking crack is not enough to put you in jail. Being under the influence is what's illegal. Possession is what's illegal. A video of you doing it at some unspecified point in the past is not illegal. And even if they did have a clock on it, it's like the flimsiest fucking shit. Okay, so he's going to go to jail for smoking crack while he was on probation 5 years ago. It's a joke. He'd get community service, for fuck's sake. It would get thrown out of court, number one. Right? They're not going to go back. No, you retroactively broke your parole 5 years ago. Bullshit. I can't even imagine like a U.S. attorney like even bothering with that. So that's bullshit. So the thing is, the gun charge, yes, they can prove that because that is an actual crime that you can actually go to jail for, right? And they have the evidence that he was doing drugs during the time when he said that he wasn't or whatever. So yes, the gun crime counts. So it's bullshit. So all of that shit that we're saying, where it's like all the other stuff on the laptop, it's like a load of fucking garbage, right? And no, he shouldn't be like convicted on any of that stuff because that stuff is like the flimsiest fucking shit ever, and I think shouldn't even be crimes. Really, me personally, you should not be a crime to pay someone for sex. Why? It should not be. It's a victimless crime. It should be a normal transaction, just like any other fucking transaction. Should not be a crime to do drugs. Shouldn't. I'm not even like a drug. I don't even do drugs anymore. I used to back in the day. Right? I don't even do drugs anymore. I haven't smoked weed in forever. Whatever, right? It should not be a crime. It's because you should be able to do whatever you want with your own body. And if any other people don't like it, then they can fuck off. That's what I think. So I don't even see like why he should go to jail for any of that shit. The other things they're talking about, it's like, oh, well, there's evidence of fucking, all this other shit, bribery and extra. Yeah, but you can't prove any of that with the shit that's on the laptop. It's ridiculous. One thing I'm seeing here is comparisons with lots of other people who have gone to jail for tax fraud. For example, Wesley Snipes seems to be a famous comparison. Here's the kind of tweet that I'm seeing lots of people spread around. This and similar sentiments to this. Robert Barnes, not sure who this guy is, some kind of lawyer. For less than what Hunter Biden did, the government tried to put Wesley Snipes in federal maximum security prison for 16 years, bankrupt him with $100 million in fines and penalties. A jury acquitted him of all felony evasion and fraud charges. 9 out of 12 jurors saw him not guilty on any charge. 3 jurors held out, leading to a compromise verdict on 3 misdemeanor charges of not filing a few returns. Yet government demanded a 3-year sentence from him. The disparity makes Hunter Biden plea a complete mockery. That's one that I saw here. Here's another one. Very similar. Lots of people are tweeting about Wesley Snipes nowadays. Mark Mendozovitz. Here's a reminder that actor Wesley Snipes serves 3 years in prison for tax evasion, as Hunter Biden gets off for the same tax crimes plus a gun violation. Apparently the Biden family is more effective than a COVID shot. Something to remember, folks, is that Biden is not being convicted of tax evasion. He's being convicted of not filing. Those are two different things. Tax evasion is when you do things like you underreport your income, right? Like, the kind of thing that Donald Trump got in trouble for with the Trump Foundation, right? Where they would do things like undervalue some property when it came to taxes and then overvalue it when it came to investors, for example. Oh, this is only worth $3 million. And then when an investor comes, oh, this is actually worth $30 million. That's tax evasion, right? When you hide your income, when you don't report your income but file anyway, stuff like that. Like say you get a shitload of money from your campaign or whatever, and then you don't report that. That's gonna happen, by the way. I'm putting on my magic fucking Griswold turban and reading the future. Donald Trump will get in trouble for campaign finance fraud. Just mark my words. One day it's gonna come out. Anyway, but getting back to the subject, Hunter Biden didn't do any of that shit. Hunter Biden just simply didn't file his taxes. Right. He's not being accused of hiding income or cheating on his taxes. He's being accused of not filing it. So he filed and then paid what he owed. Wesley Snipes didn't do that shit. Wesley Snipes was like a tax protester. And then Wesley Snipes went on and started claiming a bunch of sovereign citizen shit, saying that he was a non-resident alien of the United States and that he wasn't a citizen, so that the laws didn't apply to him, and all of this other random bullshit, using like straight up sovereign citizen arguments and all that stuff, and was eventually convicted of fucking tax fraud, of like hiding his income and like purpose. And there's the difference, right? What Wesley Snipes did was on purpose. Like, if you just failed to file because you forgot or you were like on drugs for 2 years and you didn't give a shit, that's different than just like purposely not filing. That's what Wesley Snipes did. Wesley Snipes didn't file on purpose because he thought he didn't have to, because he went with his sovereign citizen horseshit and claimed that it his right as a fucking like free person of the earth and shit to not file his taxes. And that's not what Hunter Biden did at all. So I don't want to hear any of that shit. Okay, here's another one from somebody named Lauren Witzke, I guess. Lauren Witzke. She sounds familiar. Who's Lauren Witzke? I think she's some kind of pundit. The charge should be espionage, but instead they're using the Hunter Biden arrest to remind you to pay your taxes. Why should it be espionage? What did he do exactly? Like, I guess this is in reference to some tweets or whatever to like a Chinese company, or maybe it's the Burisma thing. There's no actual evidence for any of that. Any of that shit that she's saying, like espionage. Like, are you? Show me some evidence first. Maybe this is in reference to the supposed 17 phone conversations that they have from a Burisma executive who suddenly has fallen off of the face of the earth and they can't find any reference to him. Maybe that's what they're talking about when they're talking about espionage. You can't just make bullshit up like this and expect people to fall in line. And especially when it comes to the police. The police aren't just going to like arrest someone because there's a conspiracy theory about them doing some shit. You need some actual evidence, or else it will get laughed out of court. So here's another thing that I'm seeing around. This is from a guy named Think For Yourself. The Department of Justice is incorrupt. Right? Hang on a second, guys. Let me turn some of this shit off over here. I can turn that off. I can turn this off. The Department of Injustice is corrupt. They slow-walked the investigation for 5 years. They did not look at the laptop, which had 459 crimes on it, which they never charged him for. They charge him for not paying taxes and give him a sweetheart deal. They charge him for lying on a gun application, something that Joe Biden is so passionate about. And if he is on good behavior, it goes away. Joe Biden is a fraud and a cheat, selling out his country. Hunter Biden was his big bag man. I bring this up because it is a perfect example of how conspiracy theories can worm their way into someone's mind so much that people actually think this shit is true. They slow-walked the investigation for 5 years. Why would they do that? This was a Trump-appointed attorney, right? The majority of the investigation took place under Donald Trump. Why would they slow-walk it under Donald Trump? Right? Do you really honestly think if there actually was evidence of, say, treason or any of this other shit, that this guy would not bring that to the public, like that he would cover it up? Especially when the investigation was being done under the Trump administration. Do you really think they would cover that up? Do you have any idea how bad that would make them look, would make the president look, if it got out that he somehow managed to cover up the crimes that his... No, it's bullshit. Bullshit. The reason why it's such light is because these are the only things that they actually have evidence that they can charge him for. Just like this other thing where he says there are 459 crimes on the laptop. Those things aren't crimes. We talked about that. Those things are not crimes, right? You need more evidence than just a bunch of doctored shit on a laptop that came from fucking Russian intelligence in order to throw somebody in jail, right? This is the thing that really gets me. They charge him with lying on a gun application, something that Joe Biden is so passionate about. Well, here's the thing. I thought all conservatives were like big time Second Amendment people, right? So why would they give a shit about the gun charge? I mean, shouldn't they be supporting Hunter Biden's right to carry a weapon? His Second Amendment right? I guess the Second Amendment just goes out the fucking window when you're not a Republican, right? It's all fucking bullshit. The whole thing's fucking bullshit, right? And the thing about this, it's like it's not going to appease anyone, right? And this is why I ultimately know that this was not done for political reasons, okay? Because no one would be convinced by this. We already know that it's already happening. All of the fucking conservative chuds and conspirachuds and all these other fucking morons, they're not buying it. They think it's all bullshit. And that kind of tells me it's like, well, because this is all they had. This is all they were able to find. So people are going to get pissed off because they want more, because they want blood. Because remember, folks, we're dealing with fascists. These people are fascists, and they're blinded by hate, and they don't care what the actual truth is. They've been brainwashed by, I think, 8 years at this point of ridiculous conspiracy theories with no base, like no fucking basis in reality. It's really funny. It's like usually when the president is in charge, there's always conspiracy theories about them. It happened with George W. Bush. It happened with Clinton. You had the Clinton murder list, all this other shit. The George W. Bush thing, you had, the NWO conspiracy theories and all this other crap, right? And he invaded Iraq because there was UFOs there and all this other shit. And then Obama, the same thing. Obama conspiracy theories. He's going to take away your guns and Jade Helm, etc., etc., etc. And especially Hillary Clinton. She didn't even get to become president before the conspiracy theories about her started flying all over the fucking place. Buttery males and etc. Or frazzle drip and all this other ridiculous, like crap where they're trying to say that she's got like mad cow disease because she's a cannibal. All these other ridiculous fucking conspiracy theories. And it's funny that the conspiracy theories about Joe Biden aren't focusing on Joe Biden. They're focusing on his son. And it's because Joe Biden is boring. Joe Biden has been in the public eye for 50 years at this point. They know everything there is to know about him. They know that he's boring. He's a boring old man, right? He's basically, Joe Biden is the ultimate politician, is what he is. He's been a politician for years. He's a wheeler and dealer, that kind of thing. And there's all kinds of dirt on him, but the actual dirt on Joe Biden is stuff that conservatives like anyway. Things like, he signed a crime bill in the 90s that was like punished, disproportionately punished African Americans and shit. Stuff like that. They like shit like that. So the only thing that they've been able to come up with is that, his son is dirty. And it just really gets me. It's like this time around, like, they're not even fucking trying. Right? Like, the best they can come up with is that Joe Biden's son is a scumbag. Well, who the fuck cares about his son? His son isn't in charge of fucking anything. This is why it's not a winning proposition. And it really kind of gets, because, like with Obama and all that, like all the Obama conspiracy theories, he's a fucking socialist from Kenya and all this other shit. At least it dealt with him personally. At least he was the target of the actual conspiracy theories, and it's like the best. Is the best you can fucking do is to come up with like some shit about the wayward son of the president. Like, this is the best you fucking morons have. Can't you come up with something other? I mean, if you're just gonna make shit up, can't you just come up with something a little more fucking inventive? Here's one for you. How about Joe Biden murdered somebody when he was 25 and then used his power to cover it up? How about that? There goes a conspiracy theory. Let's say Joe Biden murdered a prostitute when he was 35 and he was like a freshman senator. And then he used his ability to cover it up. There you go. I'm starting that conspiracy theory. I'm starting that. And if I see that, like on Twitter. If you see that on Twitter or some shit in like a couple of months, you know that it's bullshit because I'm the one that just made that up off the top of my fucking head. I don't know, man. The whole world is fucked up. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.